Hello and welcome back to Norfolkfords. I'm in a hole. Not just any hole though. This is a plastic pipe we've got which runs underneath the whole length of the field, which is part of our drainage for this field. So got a big job lot of drainage done, dug up in the dike, cleaned everything out, jetted all the way up as well, and just out of curiosity we tried to find the end of this pipe here. So we found it, so now we're going to cover it back up because I want to be planting some barley on this in the next couple of days. So yeah, very simple what we're going to do. I've got some Heston material which I'm just going to wrap around the pipe, stop mud entering it, blocking up the passage. So then we'll just tuck the soil over. The job's good. Let's do that. Here's our Heston. That is just going to help spread the weight on that broken bit of the pipe. I assume it was broken when we dug the pit. So that's all we wanted to do. Nice and simple. Then we pat it down like it's a sandcastle. Well, that'll do. There was a hole there 5 minutes ago. I hope I didn't lose my keys. So yeah, that'll level out when Mark gets over it with the rotavator. So this is what we always refer to as the Keys field. We've had daffodils down here for 7, maybe 8 years. They've been down here a long while, and basically the bulbs, the majority of them, are dead patches like this now because of what's known as eelworm. And this is where the interesting part of what we're saying about the drainaways is. We think if you look at a map of the drains and then you look at where the dead patches are, it looks as though the eelworm has travelled up the pipes. It may or may not, but it definitely looks likely. So none of these bulbs, they're old, they've been in the ground for too long. If you try and lift this, it'll be like lifting up concrete slabs. They are not worth lifting to be then replanted and rejuvenated elsewhere. There's no point. We've had the best out of these bulbs. 7 or 8 years. It's a long while these bulbs have been in the floor. So now Mark over there just straight up chopping them up with the rotavator. So we'll go torment him for a couple of minutes. This is a bit more of a closer look what I mean. The daffodils have just got no energy left in them. There's no real go left in the bulbs. They're just old. We've had the best out of them, so now it's just time to chop them up. So if this was a second year crop, because first year they establish and get a bit of energy behind them, second year tends to be when you get your picking in. These would be up here at least. You know, there are some good patches of the field left, but it's not worth keeping them for another year. So it'll do the land some good as well to get something else on it, because at the minute this looks very barren, very shaggy. It's not very good, but yeah, that's not even 15 centimetres worth of stem. and it looks like it's been eaten as well. So yeah, there's not a lot of good left. I think they've got one day's picking, which is over in that far corner. So you see what I mean, there's not a lot of living left here. So I'll just go check it on Mark. This is where he's had his first strip through by the looks of it. Very nice. This is what I mean by not a lot of good. I know it's just been chopped, but a bulb, even when it's been chopped, should not be squishy. It should be quite nice and hard, so at least most of the bulbs are getting somewhat cut. They should be damaged enough to die, so that should be good. Especially after we've had the power harrow over it and get the drill over. So we should have some good plant material as a base, you know. And look at all this that's been stored back into it. That hadn't done a very good job, has it? Oh, it needs to go a bit deeper, they're still set in. Although it could be to do with how hard it is. Can't quite get deep enough, so he might have a second pass yet. We shall see. Yeah, that's fairly nicely chopped. Does anybody want a cheap trampoline? Real cheap, pick it up. Collection available. No delivery, no refunds. Yours. To a good home. Well then, join us a little while later. I've been a busy bee. I've been collecting some bulbs, sorting out some other bits, been dropping off soil samples. That was interesting, collecting all them. A bit hard work collecting soil samples, you don't realise how long that's going to take. So I'm now in the mighty T6 Blue Power, and I'm trying to level out this absolutely stubborn bit of soil that's built up. So we're on the Oddfellows again, which was my first field that got drilled, and we've been lucky enough to get a little bit more of that field. Annoyingly though, the join between what we had last year and what we've got this year, they're not the same height, because there was a bit of grass build up and stuff, because it was a patch that weren't big enough to grow anything. If you look there, you can sort of see what I mean. I'll get out of the cab in a minute and show you properly. But just trying to level it out with the power harrow, and it is hard work. But of course, I've got to try and level it out, because this makes all the difference for Philip, our combine driver. Because if the land is uneven and he's going to keep bunging up, that's all time wasted, and he's not going to be very happy with me. Especially now that he's seen on video, because I know he watches now and again, that I'm the one that's tried levelling it up. And if I do a bad job, he shall let me know about it, I'm sure. So, look forward to that, Philip. So, I've probably spent the last sort of 20 minutes trying to do this corner here. That's possibly a better angle to see the height difference. Bit of a pig, but it's taken me 20 minutes to get this to my left flat. But by going slower, I've also dragged it out further, so I've got this little lump in the middle here. It's like, oh, for goodness sake! would you just behave? So, annoyingly, it's just that little bit sticky. As you can see, it's still a bit cloddy where we've gone over. So it's not fit for drilling yet. So what I'm hoping to do is level out these edges, level out the headlands with the power harrow. Give it 2 more days. We should be drilling by Saturday. So stay tuned for that. So hopefully in those 2 days, these headlands and these rough bits will just dry out that little bit and actually come up to nice standard. Then we'll come back with the Mighty T6. That'll be driving it with the power harrow on, and I should be following up with the 4610. So I'm looking forward to that being on the tractor. Dad's a bit nervous that it's not going to have the horsepower to... Oh, hold on. See, this is the choke point. Now I've been running the power harrow at half depth, which seems really daft, just to keep the soil moved along, because it's not very good bulldozer. So you can hear the engine groan now and again. Again at full depth, try and just creep it along at a bit of a slower speed. But it's quite annoying because I don't know what I've done on this bit, but I've managed to level that out and then somehow I've almost dug up a lump here. So it's a bit frustrating, but it's the nature. So I've worked out, it works out a little bit easier because I've power harrowed around where the lump is. Let's make it a little bit easier, because that far side then I've got a low part to set in and then a low part the other side, so it sort of gives me my height level over side, so I can sort of, yeah, hopefully it'll work. I'm probably not making a lot of sense. Hopefully it'll work, so we'll keep trying. Try again. Right then, I've figured it out. So I've got the quadrant set, so it's on number 3. So she's not full depth, but actually quite a nice bit of depth. And what that is basically doing is this height difference. It is literally the end of the tine is probably about there, and it's just enough to just flick all this forward and keeps it rolling. You can sort of see there where I'm sort of halfway in to the rest of the field, and that's just sort of keeping it off. So if I carry on as I am, I'm doing about 2k, I'll then get through it. So we'll just carry on. Well, now that I've figured it out, this is looking a lot more level, a lot neater as well. And I've figured it out, stick at 2k, power and speed, thank you Clarkson. But if you look, that still just lets down a little bit in that corner there, but I think that you'd spend bloody ages trying to do that. So I don't think we're too far wrong where we are now. I reckon I'll give it one more pass on full. I'm now on full depth, by the way. I'll get one more pass on full depth, especially more into the middle, and then we'll call that it, because I'm losing light. The sun's gone down nearly. And being as this is a little bit wider, that gets a little bit tricky down the road, so I really ought to pack up, but at the same time, kind of want to get the job finished, so yeah, could be cutting close. Right then, so that's a little bit of land prep done. So now I'm going to head back to the workshop because it's Thursday night. So now you join me in the garage and doing some wiring. That'll become apparent in a sec. But doing wiring, you know, had to take place next to the biggest wiring job in the house. The lovely Buford. We'll try and get Dad to do an update on that soon, because I know he's done some bits, but he seems to think he hasn't done a lot. He's probably done a lot more than he realises. Anyway, this here, let me put it down on the bench. This here is my new control box for the drill. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, two possible things you might be thinking. One, Lewis, you said you were going to do this ages ago. Yes. Two, it's a drill from like the 70s or 80s. Why is there electrics on it? Because I decided that there were some parts of it that just weren't, say, efficient enough. They were a little bit unreliable, such as the tramline kit. I did have it last year where the tramline kit, it runs on a mechanical gear setup, which then shuts off this hydraulic valve in here. So there's a little wheel that runs on top of this silver knob. This plunger, we'll call it a plunger, and that shuts off the hydraulics here. So I didn't have a lot of faith in that because it was a bit hit and miss. Sometimes the wheel didn't get triggered by the coulters lifting up. So I decided I wanted to make sure, you know, a bit of Dad teaching, you know, coming out here, it had to be right. I couldn't just leave it again, because tramlines do make a difference. Because if the tramline is over by one row and in the wrong place, it's a waste of time, isn't it? You know, you're going to run over crop where you actually want your tramline. And I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen Clarkson's Farm where Jeremy did a fantastic job of tram lines. So I've taken the tram lines into my own hands. So now I haven't got it with me, it's already on the drill. Here's a picture of it. That there is a big old solenoid valve. It's a lot bigger than it looked on eBay when I bought it. But when I get the box hooked up, I will have my little counter with me. And I think the maths works out, you do, at the end of the field, you do a half, then you do 3 full breeds, and then it's tram line. And then between tram lines, you have 8, including the tram line, I think. I'll have to re-go over that maths, but it's all to do with 3-metre drill and a 24-metre sprayer. You just work out where the tram lines need to go. So we modified the wheel last year. That was supposed to go off of 12 metres. Oh, we modified it from a 12 metre to a 24 metre by welding up one of the lows in it. So this year I've completely done away with that system. It's still attached. I'm going to leave it on there because if I ever go to sell the drill, I can keep this safe, put it back on, and she will still be in original condition, which, you know, it's a good idea. But keeping it with the modern era, when I want to, you know, come to my tram line, flicked it, solenoid valve is then closed, hydraulic oil then can't go to the lines, you know, it's making it a more manual control. And I know it's going through electricity, which, you know, could have its own problems. This could, you know, be a bit of an overcomplicated waste of time. This could be worse off, because you're adding a little bit more human element. You know, just got to weigh them up. So anyway, that's my tramline kit. And yes, I was childish and wanted a missile cover. Adds a nice second stage to it, and it looks quite cool on the box. So this is how it looks on the inside here. We have power coming in this side, goes through the fuse board. I'll be honest, I wish I hadn't have used this. I wish I'd have used something smaller, because this box is the perfect size, but it's a little bit tight in there when everything's shut up, especially with this.
So that's got a couple of spares in the middle. So I've got a fused power and a fused earth. No particular reason other than I've got the fuse board there and it just makes everything a little bit neater, starting and finishing at the same point. So got power, comes in, it's split between this switch and this switch. This switch is the missile switch for the tramline kit. That then goes out here, activates my relay. The power for this is already, well, the power goes up into the relay and back round again to the switch. The switch then activates the relay properly, and then power comes out of the relay. You know, I'm sure you've seen a relay before, you can figure it out. So that's the idea. So that is a big old chunky valve. So relay and a direct power from a D-plug should do a very good job, I'm hoping. I've only put a 3 in there because, you know, that's the smallest size. I am fully expecting to blow that until I work out what the right size is. I think I'm probably going to end up with a 5, but I'm not sure. I've got to have a fiddle. I'm hoping it should just do a 3 because it's only operating the one function, but we shall see. So anyway, what's the other switch do? The other switch is, well, for my first year drilling, I had those short little markers, didn't I? They have since been upgraded to larger markers. Thank you, Jason, for those. Problem I had last year was I had some nasty cheap rope that I pulled on to release the catch for the markers. I did quite a bad number on my palm, and that was quite badly scratched up, you know, quite badly cut really. So I just decided, I just had the idea, it was tickling me in the back of my head, get an actuator. So I've made an actuator with a little arm on. Cue the clip. And then this is sort of prototyping stage. But at the minute, this holds tension really well. It's not all done up tightly. This hasn't even got a bolt through it yet, it's just Marlboros. But if I just get my little 9-volt battery, it's a bit slow going. The tension comes off of that side. Starts pulling this taut. Doesn't interfere with the actuator. Okay, so it starts pulling. Gets a good bit of tension on. Clicks out on the full length. So now that is bloody tight. It's not fantastic having to rub it against there, but you know, possibly should have put the eye behind it. Could still redo that, I guess. It wouldn't change it at all. I do quite like having the leverage pulling the rope. It's a good long swing. Although no, I do want it there, because then the leverage is better for the push, because then it's on that far side. Then when it pulls, keep it there, and it pulls back round. So I do want to put an eyelet there for this side, just because that'll be better for the leverage. But it works. That's now held out the way, so the markers drop down, obviously when the coulter's down. So in theory, that is, jobs are good. And we'll just power it back. So it just lets the tension off. Very nice. Picking up the other side. It's fully reset now. It's starting to get tension. Pulls it up. And there it is. It's pretty good tension. So obviously that's not quite finished in that video. It has since been completed and painted. The paint job is one of the worst paint jobs I've ever done, but that's what I get for trying to rush on a top coat. So how does it work? Simple. Well, you see it in the video. That actuator goes across. So what I've had to do is I've got, I think they called it a DPDT switch or something like that. Basically, it's an on, off, on switch with 2 outlets. And the way you do this for an actuator so it'll pull in and push out is by doing a reverse polarity type circuit is what it's called, where basically you have the earth crisscross from one side of the switch to the other, and the power to do the same from one side of the switch to the other. It's a bit hard to show off because it's all a bit tight in there, but you get the idea. And then the centre is where your power goes out of the box. So yeah, that's about it. So annoyingly, this is being uploaded tonight. You'll have to wait next week to see if this actually pays off and works, but I'm quite happy with it. My first little test in making a little control box, and I know it's simple, but it's made me smile. If it works, I think this is fantastic. And I'm thinking in the future, if I do want to put some sort of work light on the drill, you know, I can put a switch. I've already got the fuse board. Yeah, this is a start. You know, we don't need anything more complicated. It's an old drill, very simple. Still working on hydraulics for the coulters being released, obviously. But this is just, in my mind, removing some old school errors, such as that mechanical wheel, which, like I said, they didn't show up in the right place. Hopefully, they will now. But I need to double check my maths on because I think the drill has a shut off halfway, so you can drill with one side only, and that's for your outside. Then I think you do 3 breeds, then a tram line, and that's how you get your 12 meters. I'm going to double check that maths in the morning. I don't think we're drilling in the morning, because it's not quite dried out enough yet. You know, that power harron you just seen, you know, that was for levelling, not for planting. That's fine for what we were trying to do with the bit of soil, but if we want to plant, it's just that little bit not quite right. And frankly, the way things are at the minute, it's got to be right going in, because we need that yield, we need it coming back right. So hopefully the time I've spent with the drill upgrades this year will have been worth it. You know, it's not going to plant anything any better. You know, it's still planting exactly as it was last year. I've just changed the controls a little bit, which will hopefully make it a little bit easier for me. Make the tram lines better, you know. Ease the operator. So I'm going to have a tidy up and a cup of tea. So thank you very much for watching, as always. And put the Buford behind us. We will come back to the Buford at some point. In typical Norfolkfords fashion, we have even more projects, which I'm not going to even tell you what they are. You're just going to have to subscribe and follow us in the future to find out what they are. But they're quite nice. And definitely Dad's fault. Just saying. So, thank you very much for watching. I've been Lewis Eves.
like and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Norfolkfords. Yeah, that's about it. Farm safe. See you next week.